The trailer for Yellowstone 1969 opens with a heavy sense of tension that you can almost feel through the screen, as if the land itself remembers the violence buried beneath it. This story takes us back to a time when the Dutton Ranch was not the untouchable empire we know, but a fragile kingdom surrounded by enemies on all sides. The year 1969 is painted as a turning point, a moment when America itself was changing, and the West was no longer wild, but it refused to be tamed. We hear quiet but powerful narration about legacy, about how land doesn't belong to men, men belong to the land, and that single line sets the tone for everything that follows. The ranch is struggling, not just against outsiders trying to take what isn't theirs, but against pressure from the government, corporate expansion, and even neighbors who once stood as allies. There's an overwhelming feeling that the Dutton family is standing at the edge of collapse, holding on to power by nothing more than will, grit, and violence. As the tension builds, we're introduced to a younger generation of Duttons, tougher, more reckless, and far less diplomatic than those who came before them. These are men raised in hardship, shaped by war, and unwilling to surrender an inch of ground. You can sense that leadership inside the family is being tested. Authority isn't simply inherited, it's fought for. There are hints of deep internal conflict, where loyalty is questioned, and decisions carry deadly consequences. The trailer suggests that not everyone wearing the Dutton name is united, and that division inside the ranch may be just as dangerous as the threats outside its borders. Every conversation feels loaded, every stare feels like a warning, and every promise sounds like it could end in betrayal. What makes this verse look especially gripping is how it shows the ranch surrounded by a rapidly modernizing world. Highways are expanding, corporations are circling like vultures, and powerful businessmen see the Yellowstone land as nothing more than profit waiting to be claimed. But for the Duttons, this isn't business, it's identity, history, and survival. The trailer leans heavily into this clash between old-world cowboy values and the cold machinery of progress. You get the sense that the family isn't just fighting people, they're fighting time itself. And time is winning. There are also strong hints of political pressure closing in. Officials, lawmen, and powerful figures appear determined to break the ranch's control over its territory. The law is no longer on the Dutton side, if it ever truly was. Deals are being made in shadows, alliances are shifting, and the family is forced to operate in moral gray areas just to stay alive. The narration suggests that in 1969, the line between protector and outlaw became dangerously thin. The Duttons aren't portrayed as heroes here. They're survivors willing to do whatever it takes. Emotionally, the trailer carries a heavy weight of sacrifice. There are glimpses of family members questioning whether the land is worth the cost, whether holding on to Yellowstone is destroying the very people sworn to protect it. Love, loyalty, and duty are constantly colliding. You feel that personal relationships will be pushed to their limits, marriages strained, brothers divided, and fathers forced to make impossible choices. Legacy, in this story, doesn't feel glorious. It feels like a burden passed down through pain. And then comes the violence, sudden, raw, and unavoidable. The trailer doesn't glorify it. It presents it as a brutal language the West still speaks fluently. Shootouts, ambushes, and retaliations are hinted at in a way that makes it clear peace was never an option in 1969. Every act of aggression sparks another. As the trailer pushes deeper into the world of Yellowstone 1969, the scale of the conflict begins to feel even more explosive, shifting from quiet tension into the early sparks of an unavoidable war. The story no longer feels contained within ranch fences. It spreads outward into valleys, towns, and political offices, showing that the fight for Yellowstone is influencing everything around it. There's a growing sense that powerful forces have been planning this takeover for years, patiently waiting for the right moment when the Duttons would be vulnerable enough to strike. And 1969 is that moment. Economic pressure, legal disputes, and land seizures begin stacking up, forming a coordinated assault designed to suffocate the ranch rather than attack it directly. It's psychological warfare as much as physical. Break the family's spirit, and the land will fall with them. What makes this section of the trailer especially gripping is how it highlights the evolution of enemies. These aren't just cattle thieves or rival ranchers anymore. These are wealthy industrialists, oil investors, and land developers with endless money and political connections. They don't fight with guns first. They fight with contracts, courts, and corruption. But when those methods fail, the violence comes fast and merciless. The trailer hints that hired enforcers and private gunmen are being brought in, turning the valley into a silent battlefield where attacks can come from anywhere. This escalation raises the stakes dramatically, showing that the Duttons are facing an enemy far more organized and ruthless than anything before. Inside the family, the emotional fractures grow deeper. Leadership decisions are no longer unanimous. They're contested, argued, and sometimes openly defied. The younger Dutton men believe survival means adapting, becoming more aggressive, more strategic, even more brutal. But the older generation fears that abandoning their code will destroy the very soul of the ranch. There are strong hints of personal revenge arcs forming as well. Past killings, stolen land, and broken alliances are resurfacing, suggesting that this war didn't begin in 1969. It's the eruption of grudges, buried for decades. Characters aren't just fighting for property, they're fighting for justice as they see it. The trailer builds the feeling that everyone believes they're right, which makes the conflict even more dangerous. When both sides feel justified, peace becomes impossible. Retaliation becomes inevitable. Another layer of suspense comes from the shifting loyalty of surrounding communities. Town leaders, law enforcement, and neighboring ranchers appear divided on where they stand. Some still respect the Dutton name and what it represents. Others see an opportunity to align with wealth and modernization. The trailer teases secret meetings, whispered deals, and betrayals waiting to happen. Trust becomes a rare commodity, and the Duttons begin operating in isolation, unsure of who might turn against them next. Visually and emotionally, the tone grows heavier as the trailer progresses. There's a looming sense that something catastrophic is approaching. Not just small skirmishes, but a defining confrontation that could decide the ranch's fate forever. The narration reinforces this by speaking about storms, not weather storms, but storms of men, greed, and violence. It frames 1969 as the year Yellowstone was tested like never before, where survival required more than strength. It required sacrifice. Family bonds are pushed into heartbreaking territory here. We feel the strain of parents trying to protect their children from a war they were born into, while those same children feel obligated to fight for a legacy they never chose. The emotional conflict adds depth to the action, reminding us that every bullet fired carries consequences that echo through generations. This isn't just a land war, it's a family tragedy unfolding in slow motion. By the end, as the trailer reaches its final stretch, the intensity rises to a level that feels almost suffocating, signaling that the story of Yellowstone 1969 is heading toward a brutal and unforgettable climax. The slow-burn tension that built through the earlier moments now erupts into full confrontation, and the valley no longer feels like home. It feels like a war zone waiting for the first shot to officially begin. The narration grows heavier, speaking about destiny, about how every generation faces a moment that defines whether their legacy survives or disappears. For the Duttons, 1969 is that moment. You can sense that everything they've fought for, every sacrifice, every drop of blood spilled before them, is about to be tested in one decisive conflict that will determine the future of the ranch forever. What stands out most in this closing section is the emotional gravity surrounding the family itself. There's a powerful sense that not everyone will make it through what's coming. Conversations feel like final goodbyes, disguised as strategy meetings. Promises are made not about victory, but about protecting the land at any cost. The trailer hints that some family members are prepared to give their lives if it means Yellowstone survives. That looming possibility adds a heartbreaking layer to the action, because the fight is no longer just about winning. It's about what they're willing to lose along the external threat reaches its peak here as well. The corporate and political forces circling the ranch finally move from shadows into open aggression. Legal pressure turns into forced removals, intimidation, and violent enforcement. The enemies of the Duttons believe this is the perfect time to strike, when the family is divided, outnumbered, and surrounded. There's a chilling confidence in the way this opposition is presented, as if they believe the fall of Yellowstone is inevitable. But what they underestimate is how far the Duttons are willing to go when backed in. The trailer leans heavily into the idea that this battle isn't just physical, it's symbolic. The ranch represents the last stand of an old way of life, one that refuses to be erased by modernization and greed. Every fence line becomes a front line. Every field becomes contested ground. The land itself feels like a silent character, something worth dying for, something sacred that cannot be measured in money or contracts. That emotional connection transforms the conflict from a simple land dispute into something mythic, almost like a legend being born in real time. There are also strong hints of betrayal reaching its breaking point. Alliances that seemed stable begin to crack under pressure. Someone close to the family appears to make a move that could change the balance of power entirely. The trailer carefully builds suspicion without revealing exactly who can be trusted, keeping the suspense razor sharp. This element of internal danger makes the coming showdown even more unpredictable, because the greatest threat might not come from outside the ranch but from within it. As momentum surges toward the finale, the pacing of the trailer becomes relentless. Quick flashes of confrontations, standoffs, and retaliation paint the picture of a valley erupting into chaos. It feels like the calm before the storm has officially ended, Now it's storm against storm, violence meeting violence, force answering force. The narration delivers one final powerful idea, that legends aren't born in peace, they're forged in war. Emotionally, the closing moments leave a lasting impact. By focusing on legacy, we're reminded that the decisions made in 1969 won't just affect the present generation. They'll echo through decades, shaping the Yellowstone story that follows. The sacrifices, the bloodshed, the victories, and the losses will become the foundation future Duttons stand upon. It reframes everything we thought we knew about the ranch, suggesting that its survival was never guaranteed. As the final moments of the trailer unfold, Yellowstone 1969 leaves us with an atmosphere so heavy, it feels like history itself is holding its breath. The conflict that has been building from the very first frame now stands at the edge of explosion. And what makes this closing stretch so powerful is the sense that there is no turning back for anyone involved. The Dutton family is no longer reacting to threats, they're preparing to meet them head-on. The narration shifts from reflection to resolve, emphasizing that survival has always demanded sacrifice. But in 1969, the price will be higher than ever before. You can feel that the family understands. This may be the battle that either cements their legacy permanently or wipes their name from the land entirely. There's a haunting focus on the weight of inheritance, how each generation inherits not just land, but wars they didn't start. The younger members of the family appear fully aware that they are stepping into a storm created long before they were born. Yet instead of retreating, they lean into it, accepting that defending Yellowstone is their destiny whether they chose it or not. This emotional acceptance gives the trailer a powerful undercurrent of inevitability. It's not about avoiding conflict anymore, it's about finishing it. The enemies circling the ranch are portrayed as more confident than ever, convinced that the Dutton stronghold is finally weakening. Pressure comes from every direction, financial, legal, political, and violently physical. The strategy is clear. Overwhelm the ranch until resistance collapses. But what they fail to recognize is that pressure doesn't always break people. Sometimes it hardens them. And the trailer makes it clear that the Duttons are becoming more dangerous the closer they get to losing everything. A striking element in this section is the psychological toll of war. The characters aren't untouched by what's happening. You can feel exhaustion, grief, and quiet fear remain. All of them understand that once the coming confrontation begins, life will never return to what it was. Even victory will come at a cost that can never be repaid. The trailer also hints that strategy will play as big a role as brute force. Plans are being laid, traps prepared, and countermoves set into motion. This isn't just a reckless last stand. It's a calculated defense of everything the ranch represents. The Duttons know the land better than anyone, and there's a growing sense that they intend to use that knowledge as their greatest weapon. The valley itself feels like it's being turned into a battlefield designed on their terms. As momentum surges toward the final crescendo, the editing pace intensifies, reinforcing that multiple confrontations are about